is that chance of any of these teams in the top 8 still winning it means it's a difficult position to be in if you're one of the top 2 teams, right? Because yes, you're competing with one of the front runners, but you also have to be aware of the chasing pack and know that you can't just have an average game and toddle along. Because even if the Gaming Gladiators were to see the Cybercats eliminated early here, they still have to have a solid game. Otherwise, it opens up the door for one of these teams to take first away from them.
Well, lock it in, everyone, wherever you are around the world. We're happy that you're watching, of course. And like I mentioned previously, we hope you're enjoying the games. And it does not get any tighter and more exciting than a Game 6 where genuinely you're not quite sure how those final leaderboards are going to look. We're going to start off with Go Next, the winners of game number 5, who have now jumped up into 4th place overall and have a genuine shot at maybe stealing this thing away.
Yeah, that would be it. It would be stealing at this point, wouldn't it? With how the Cybercats and the Gaming Gladiators have performed today, if anyone else was to win, it would feel like it would be a robbery from one of these 2 squads. But Cybercats probably been my favorite team of the day, purely for their kind of deference from the meta and changing things a little bit. This is probably the closest to a meta team that we've seen from them now.
I was going to say, you look at the composition, it's like, oh, wait. We're talking about World's Edge, everyone, all right? Okay, just bear with us. We saw some Pathfinder earlier. We saw a little bit of Mad Maggie. We were loving what we were seeing, but we would say maybe Stormpoint forces your hand a little bit more when it comes to the composition, needing that Bangalore just to travel across. And hey, look at that. We had a North Zone. We had the most central zone of all time. And now we are going down to the south as well. So a good spread of zones here today in the EMEA region. And good news for the likes of Cybercats, who are going to be very, very happy to see that zone pop.
Yeah, and just looking at this zone and any similarities to what we had in previous weeks, you've always got to bank on it potentially going down towards Echo when it's a zone like this, like the Echo and Devastated Coast in the surrounding areas there as it continues to pull to the southeast. There have been times where it pulls up to the choke point to the east of Pylon as well, so maybe a team will bank on that if they're one of the later rotators, but I guess Forbidden will give us a good idea of how they're feeling, because dropping at Pylon, they've got a ring console, they'll be one of the first movers, and you can see an evac tower's just gone down for Forbidden, so they think this is going to be a full southeast pull.
By the way, Later Rotators sounds like a Metallica song, and I'm here for it. Anyway, Forbidden are making Later Rotator. Yeah! Anyway, that's my James Hetfield. Forbidden making that move, like you say. Things are getting weird in game number 6. Aurora also making their move as well. You can see from Devastated Coast, they made a pretty quick transition, I would say, to get not only the ring console, but the survey beacon as well. So they're going to be on a guaranteed blues, almost purples, by the time that they leave. And you can see already some fights breaking out, because in game number 6, prio position, if you get it and you win the fight for it, then you could be the ones who are walking away today in first place.
So Aurora in Devastated Coast, and they're starting to see everyone arrive, so they know full well where this zone is going to be going, even without any console information, because they don't have the legends to do so. They're going to be saying, all right, well, we can see where everyone is coming from. Maybe we just stick with our position now because everyone seems to be coming to us. It may be the zone that finishes just slightly north of Echo in that little cranny by the mountainside where eventually the circle takes a lot of the mountain. And at the moment, Nessie find themselves in that exact position. But elsewhere, people are trying to make their rotations and Go Next and players both in the same area.
Yeah, players are chasing them down, and you can see the Go Next maybe thinking about, hey, we've got time to do the Prowlers here. This is going to be a slow rotate for us all the way to the south. Well, players are right behind them, and they are trying to be aggressive and force them off of this position. So players kind of forced the hand here of Go Next. Some shots from distance, but no real damage done. No knocks coming in. You can see that everyone is still pretty healthy. So Go Next decide, and Kashira will decide for his team, follow me, boys. We're going this way.
Yeah, and Go Next, you know, one of those teams who could certainly win this entire thing. They're 9 points behind first at the moment. So even if you were to see Cybercats get into the top 5, if we saw Go Next win with a good amount of kills, they could still topple. So it's not like they have to see Cybercats or Gaming Gladiators eliminated early, but they just would need to be having a bigger game if that were to go their way. But Kashira and Go Next Esports have certainly been a pleasure to watch so far in this split, and Kashira wants to really make his impact once more, right? He didn't make it to Split 1, and that was the first time that Kashira has been on the back end of not qualifying for a LAN, and he certainly felt that pain.
Yeah, you can see he had a torrid time when it came to teams last split, and I think this, like you say, it's kind of a redemption arc for him. He's the the closest that Europe have ever come to, of course, winning a ALGS LAN. So close in that famous moment against TSM, but that didn't go their way. The last split didn't go their way either. Maybe it's Kishira's time in split 2 here of the ALGS. Elsewhere, you see some shots coming in. Passion UA, they're trying to find their way into a little spot to play as well. It's a evac tower into the unknown, but a playable spot for now, but they've got to try and progress from here.
Well, do they have to progress? Because Passion UA actually...
team's rotating on that hill. I'm worried for him.
I'd be concerned as well, but it is where that zone can finish. So as long as they can create enough space and make themselves big, it's potentially winnable, but it is an early commitment for sure. As now, speaking of committing, Go Next committing to this fight.
Go Next now forced into their second fight of the day. Kishira going to take a little bit too much damage on the cross here. A little bit of hip fire where the Havoc is good. It's going to be Kai who exchanges the damage. So we have a 2v2 inside of Command Center here between Blacklist International and Go Next Esports. Arkstar's going to go in here from Kai to try and force that team away. Kishira has found himself in a safe position as well. And it looks like he's going to maybe think about swinging on this res, but no. Unfortunately for him, doesn't make contact, and therefore it looks like a full reset coming in for both teams. Yeah,
a res for res, a chance to get those bats off and reconsider here. Is this fight worth it? Do we think it is isolated? Have we heard another team? Well, there's the scan. It is another team. There are 3 teams here. Blacklist International, Go Next, and players all in the same area.
Yeah, they're just waiting for knocks. You can see at the moment players are just watching, standing still, and they're looking to the top right of their screen, seeing if the kill feed's going to light up. Elsewhere, you can see the Na'Vi, they're having a fight right now. Good spray coming in from Kinda. Matafe gets another knock as well, so it's only 1 left alive here on the other side of this little scrap that's going down, and you would imagine that Na'Vi should be able to hold this position pretty comfortably. Yeah,
Na'Vi hold, Nessie are nearby. Aurora also still holding their devastated coast position. And then you've got all the teams that are to the west. You've got FaZe, you've got Cybercats, and you've got Passion UA as the circle is trending south now. So the position that Passion UA found themselves in that little cranny just to the south of the mountain, they will be in one of the more desirable positions when they get to the end game, but are they there just a little bit too early? That's always the biggest question. If they don't have the composition to hold that area, other teams might take it away from them.
That is officially now the official name of that spot.
It's just called the Cranny. All right.
The Cranny, which I want to see pop up in-game within a week, devs. You've got a week, 7 days. I'm generous like that. GG, now they're being forced to move forward thanks to the zone closing behind them. Bangal's going to go down to try and stop their progress a little bit here. Full English is going to be in front of them. Trojan are trying to wrap behind them as well. Although it's not going to be a zone wrap, so they will be pretty safe. They've got the mountain to kind of divide the 2 teams. But GG in second place at the moment. This is a real test for them here. These are the kind of fights where you look at them, and if you come out on top of them and find a spot to play, then these can be the ones you look back on at the end of the day, say, this is the fight that's won us this game.
It's the Full English who have lost Dell. And sadly, I think that means they'll probably lose their entire team if they're not careful, because Gaming Gladiators are going to continue to push. Nessie are on the other side. Trojan also in the area. As all these teams that were around Devastated Coast are going to have to continue to move down towards Echo HQ, and it is such a horrible zone to try and play if you thought it was going to pull anywhere else, because there is so much of the circle covered by the mountain. So anyone who is north of it is going to have to try and go over the top, as Dell will eventually get finished off. And now Gaming Gladiators still hold first position, 48 points. They're only 1 point ahead of the Cybercats, though.
Nessie fully eliminated. They were the first team to fall out of the lobby. Another slow, quiet day for our friend Graceful, unfortunately. But he's a man of many talents, as we know, and I'm sure they'll bounce back in the next game day. Na'Vi now trying to wrap from the southern side. Trying to poke up, see if they can get a little bit of damage on some of these teams who are very, very close to them. It actually looks like they bought themselves a little bit of space here. So from the Broken Armory they were in a few moments ago, they can play this hill for quite some time, Na'Vi, until we do see that more violent pull down towards the south. By the way, Cybercats still in priority position. This is a great zone for them. We mentioned it at the start as far as priority is concerned, and it's looking like it could be a
teams that are also in the surrounding areas, but it's Gaming Gladiators who are kind of finding kills, finding KP at the moment to really push the narrative of we want to be winning this game, we want to be aggressive, we want to try and create a gap against the Cybercats. Only 2 squads have been eliminated, and Gaming Gladiators have played a part in those eliminations, and it looks like they might play another part in this one.
Yeah, this is going to be Aurora trying to escape at the moment. They do manage to get into a position where maybe they'll be able to put the res, but with that cheeky little angle, threading the needle with those bullets, Aurora will be eliminated, but it's thanks to Shots coming in from Na'Vi as well as Lufka here on GG. So they don't get all of the KP, but some is good, and the space is even better for them to play with. Now, what's the next move for them? Where is that zone going to pull? I think a lot of teams are waiting with bated breath, but they're in still a pretty good spot at the moment. Danish have got a really interesting wrap as well, by the way, on where this zone is going to be going from the south side, but it's such a difficult cross to make from that low ground.
Yeah, I'd be very surprised if this pulls anywhere else than south. If it goes southeast to where Na'Vi are, they'll be delighted, but I'm not sure we'll see a shift like that. So that means that Na'Vi, Trojan, Gaming Gladiators, Forbidden, Apex Warlords, they all have to move. Trojan, they take a lot of damage, but they're okay for now. The bad thing for Trojan is they might think they are the furthest team back, but they have to be careful because Go Next Esports are arriving from behind.
A little bit of damage from the bang ult, but not a huge amount for them. And in 2 seconds time, we are going to see that zone shift. And the information will be given to teams who don't have a ring console that we're going down towards Echo HQ. Now, you mentioned the cranny, Dan. Well, the cranny is where we end this game. Passion UA, like you said, slam into that position, and that is where the zone is going to be closing. So an opportunity for them maybe to pull off somewhat of an upset today with a little bit of a late game rally, a late series rally, I should say, after their performance here on Storm Point. Go Next, though. They'll be trying to change that narrative themselves a little bit here as we change between our 4th place team and our 5th place team. It is so close, and every KP that goes down, I swear that the overall standings of the team is changing every time as well.
So Passion UA safely in the cranny for now. I'd like to get a look at Passion UA for a second just to double check their composition and how easily they're going to be able to hold that position. But for now, Gaming Gladiators are still in first. They're still being aggressive. They're still looking for KP. Trojan is the next team in their sightlines, but Go Next Esports from behind will catch out the Gaming Gladiators.
Oh, Lufka just got absolutely destroyed, absolutely eliminated. He's just in little pieces. You have to put him back together. He's like a jigsaw puzzle. And Light now has to try and play this one out as a solo. Blacklist International will be eliminated, and you said it, Dan. You have to be careful of the late rotate coming in from Go Next Esports, and they did not take care of their backs.
And it now sends Go Next Esports not only into 3rd position, but now you've got to imagine it's going to be tough for Gaming Gladiators to get any more points on the board apart from just ratting out for placement, which will allow Go Next to catch up, but also hand the initiative over for Cybercats to maybe win this entire day. But you've also got to remember Passion UA still within an opportunity in prime position to win this game. 3D Max eliminated, 15 squads now remain.
Go Next still have to fight their way forward, though. You can see they're taking damage. A lot of players still in and around this vicinity. Light is still alive, by the way, for GG, but doesn't have any shields to play with for now, and it looks like he's going to be chased down as well. So a lot of teams are going to have to leave in a few moments' time. Trojan will be safe-ish, but playing up on that hill is so dangerous, trying to kind of work your way towards Echo. However, there's the solo again, and Light is causing all sorts of problems here for Trojan. He gets a knock.
That is big from Light, but is it going to end up going his way? No, it will not. Trojan, they get the kill, and yes, okay, they've lost one. Light went out with a bang, but are Gaming Gladiators now handing over the victory to potentially Cybercats or Passion UA? Cybercats only 1 point behind them. By the way, Passion UA are playing with a Watson, so the position they hold right now is going to be a comfortable one, as speaking of comfortable, it is everything but for Kashira and Go Next.
Well, Go Next Esports, they managed to take down the final pieces of Trojan, but like you say, Kashira is on his back for now. Will they be able to get the res? That's the question. Also, the zone is going to be closing behind them as well pretty soon. And this building, well, there's not many walls, so it's a pretty horrible place to have to hold. You can see Arc Stars flying in towards Slab. Players eliminated in the meantime. Shots coming down from above as well, and Go Next are in shambles.
Go Next, they're on the brink of being eliminated and on the brink to maybe handing over the victory to either Cybercats or Passion UA in the overall standings, but there is still an opportunity to rat as Kai gets as quiet as he can and hopes that maybe he can escape. But the Apex Warlords and Forbidden are both surrounding him. Elsewhere, Na'Vi, they're going to be dancing their way out of this position because they're a little bit concerned of all the teams that are above them.
Nocturnal leave using that cow wall. Cybercats now inside of this building. The game is in their hands, right? They had the God spot. They had the POI that they dropped at. They had the zone come to them. But now the zone has shifted north and there's traffic in front of them to deal with. Go Next Esports will be eliminated, so the final player is taken out. Another move coming in for a potential third party as they try and take this little place, and Cybercats have lost one. And most importantly for them is the core stick that goes down as well. So now they don't have the barrels to get down to stop this push coming in. They're sending it. A Thermal eliminated in the meantime. Cybercats need to win this to keep their hopes and dreams alive of winning today, and instead they play for some KP. Cybercats now down to 1. Ranches trying to survive, trying to dive, trying to dodge, trying to do what it can, but Cybercats, they will fall, and that opens the door for everyone else in this lobby.
Well, it opens the door for Passion UA. More importantly, they're the team in 3rd place. They're the team who holds center zone, but another squad who are also in the question are Vex, but they've just lost one. And did Passion UA notice them? That's the question. Look at all those Watson fences. Passion UA perfectly zoning this area, predicting where this zone is going to go, and now Vex go down. More points for Passion UA as we only have 6 squads left.
And Strafey has a Kraber as well, by the way. The Ukrainian who has been through a lot recently. He's looking to put some good vibes towards his team. It was great to see him, of course, at the Split 1 playoffs. They're looking to make it to the Split 2 as well, and with a game day win, there's no better opportunity. Atlas will fall as well. Strafey flies in. It's another kill for Passion UA. They move up to 2nd.
They're only 1 point behind the Cybercats now. They're into the top 3. They hold prime position. They need to win this fight. If they do win this fight, the likelihood is they will win the entire day here on set.
3 squads remaining, and they move into 1st position. FaZe Clan will be eliminated, so Passion UA make a huge late-game rally. Sanyu will fall with 2 bullets left in a Kraber. Strafey might have an opportunity here to do something a little bit special towards the end of this game. He reloads, and now he's got a few more to play with.
It's Na'Vi on the other side, and Na'Vi now with the advantage to win this game, but it's going to be all about Passion UA here.
Passion UA, unfortunately, will fall. Na'Vi will win the game, but the story belongs to Passion. They managed to get the job done. They will win the day, you would imagine, by going into that 1st place. With the kills they managed to put alongside the 2nd place. Then even though Na'Vi might be smiling at the end of play today with that final game win, it's going to be the series smiles that are shared by Passion UA. A phenomenal performance, Dan. And in that final moment, you just felt like they were taking over.
Yeah, Na'Vi, who send themselves into the top 8 in the overall standings, so that does jump them up, and that will be important points when we look at the overall standings to get to playoffs, of course. But the position from Passion UA, it's a difficult place to hold. Nessie actually opted not to hold that spot in the cranny, but they didn't really have the composition to do so. The fact that Passion UA had the Watson
established POIs start to disappear. You're also going to see some of the bigger names coming in as well as we move on, because you're looking at the likes of you're looking at like a Team Falcons. You're looking for where they're dropping. You're looking for where TSM are going to be dropping. I mean, there's so much to talk about today when it comes to these POI drafts and where people are dropping. That just changes the complexion of everything, Dan. And one thing to note as well that I kind of coined a term a little bit earlier in EMEA. If you are lucky enough to get a good zone, a zone that pulls to you when you have one of these poorer POIs when it comes to picks, that's a golden game opportunity for you to put points on the board from a POI that you don't really expect to do it from.
And these are the later picks that you were speaking of. So the teams who prioritized Storm Point and instead got later picks on World's Edge. TSM at Mirage Etoile. Falcons down at Dome. Now remember, in EMEA, we have still not seen Dome chosen as a drop spot for anyone. Yet in North America, people seem to think it is actually better than maybe Stacks, for example, or you're happy to take the fight against someone at Stacks. So we'll see what Falcons do from that. I'm very excited to see where Falcons go from Dome.
I also want to say that SSG getting Sky East at pick 23, pretty good from them. I think they would have been very happy to see that still available. So SSG with an opportunity to do something here on World's Edge. And I think you're right. Obviously, all eyes are going to be on Falcons and how they play from the Dome as well. And they do have a couple of teams around them. Maybe they feel confident in taking those fights, but one of them might not be complexity with the way that Lou has been firing his guns recently. But enough of the POI draft. We've seen the teams. We've seen who's in this lobby. It's time to get underway, everybody. Match day is nearly ready to go. And I tell you what, Dan, World's Edge, it always looks as beautiful as the last time I saw it.
It just hits different, doesn't it, World's Edge? I always like it when it's in the rotation in ranked as well. It seems to be home for not just me, but many players in Apex Legends. Now, I am curious as to where Falcons go with their rotation, but at the moment we're going to focus on Not Moist, because the inclusion of Timmy, this is a big change, right? Not Moist were a roster who dominated in the region for quite some time during Split 1, but perhaps didn't have the result they would have wanted or expected when it came to the playoffs. But now with Timmy on the bang, I'm excited to see what they can do.
Yeah, also interesting to point out as well, you've got Guild and Timmy, both North Americans. Is this now a North American team? Genome. Whilst he is going to be the lone survivor from ANZ, I'm sure that he'll still be supporting his boy, of course, understandably so. But whilst he's going to be taking up the IGLing on this team as well, MT historically, of course, was the IGL for Not Moist, and it's a big change for him. He put a tweet out saying, you know, he's going to put the hard work in and everything that he has to do, and he believes in himself to do so. Well, he's going to have to navigate the traffic on World's Edge here to head a little bit towards Fragment.
Yeah, Fragment is where we're going to be going. There's a little bit that's within Geyser, so that makes me think that we might head over towards No Name as the end circle here. So the likes of Yup and Weave and NGNL actually are all going to have priority to move there. And you can see Weave dropping at Overlook have already made their way down to No Name, and they should have got that ring console up at Overlook, so they'll be the first ones to take one of the buildings, and they should be able to sit there for quite some time. But of course, with a No Name finish, not too many buildings to work with, so a lot of the surrounding areas in Fragment and in Geyser are going to be desirable for those who rotate late, but then they're going to have to force their way in when the zone eventually shifts.
Yeah, good news on the pathing as well from Overlook. Not only did they have the ring console, they also had Survey Beacon, and as you can see, as they path their way towards where they want to play, they had a Evo Harvester as well. So they'll have at least blues, pretty close to purples, you would imagine, as they're already set up inside of this building. So a really good opportunity for early points on the board for them. Elsewhere, you've just seen a little bit of a slow rotate from some teams who recognize that maybe there's not a huge amount of zone to play where they believe it's going to finish, and maybe Fragment is going to become a little bit more packed as we get through the game. A couple of teams hitting the evacs in, but for now, a little bit of a slow burner at the start, as we would expect. Not too many fights been taken. You can see already less than 1,000 Evo damage needs to be done here by Weave for them to get up to purples.
Well, good news for Weave is they have the Watson, so they can really set up in this building, and they can ruin everything for anyone who wants to arrive late and try and take the position away from them as the early movers. The story's more going to be focused on those who are going to be moving a little bit later and potentially fighting in chokes and surrounding areas. The Harvester area at the moment is where a fight is currently going down. LG against Board, and LG have that high ground.
Oh, we also see a strong push, shall we say, at the least, coming in as we put some more damage from distance. Unfortunately, only the one times on the scout is going to make it a little bit more difficult, but it's EA who are being so aggressive to try and take this truck position away.
Yeah, EA maybe seeing an opportunity here, and the knockdown shields almost doing something similar to what we saw last week, but it's Eternal who go down. Elevate only lose 1, and they'll be able to get back up to a full 3 here, and if they want to, they can hold this truck for the rest of the game. But with the aggression we just saw, will they consider carrying on with this wave, right? Do they push even further into No Name and potentially take the fight against Weave?
One thing they're going to have to do is play a little bit of space around that truck because they don't have the catalyst to reinforce the doors. So it's very, very nadeable inside of that truck. They do have the fuse who can, of course, was very useful in that initial push, of course, just to fire those knuckle clusters in to get that damage to really discombobulate the team that was inside. But you've got to use now the fuse and the knuckle cluster to kind of command space in and around that truck, because just setting up inside it with those doors already gone, it's a risky spot to play.
How about the Pioneers being reintroduced to Apex Legends as well? Welcome back. 255 days away from Apex, and what a team to pick up. Tripods who get in through Challenger Circuit in the final game and now find themselves competing in the biggest and the best lobby, and they do not look shy in this lobby as well. Happy to take fights, really rolling with the big boys, and I'm excited to see what they can do for the rest of the season. And in this game at the moment, moving from the northern side, they might just be able to pick off a few teams that are going to be below them here.
Well, yeah, you have to be careful because Deeds has got himself a long boy, and he's going to be able to do some good damage if he does see those doors gone and the windows available for him to poke a few shots through as well. But it looks like maybe another evac for them to try and play with. I'm not sure where they want to try and play from here, if they're going to try and go into Overlook or maybe the truck, but
doesn't matter.
They're going to go nowhere. They landed on the snow. It was a soft landing. They wanted to stay here, regardless of what they tell you.
I mean, I think if they had arrived in No Name and then they could run it back, they probably would rather stay on the height, judging by how congested it is at the moment, right? So it's probably a blessing in disguise for them. But it was Not Moist and other teams who all banded together to shoot down that evac tower, not allowing Pioneers to make a aerial rotation. And you spoke about the long boy. How about the Sentinel?
Yeah, that's not bad either, to be honest with you. I mean, the size of the projectiles that come out when you charge this thing up, it makes it pretty difficult to miss at times. But even from that distance, Timmy makes it look easier. Nice little 88 to really make sure that he's pushing that team away through the tunnel. And it looks like Pioneers are going to head towards Overlook. Maybe they're looking to hit the ring console and the survey beacon as well that is available before they pop back into a position in zone. OXG, Oxygen Esports, haven't talked about them much so far. Frex, of course, being a addition to this lineup for this split, and had some pretty solid performances so far.
Yeah, 15th in the POI draft, choosing Lava Fissure, which, you know, a not bad POI to go with in general. I think that they'll be fairly happy with it. They're going to be in the kind of mid-ground for both POIs on both maps. So I'm expecting Oxygen to find an average performance, but it's whether they can find something that's just a little bit further to push them into the chances of winning today's efforts. Now, this is the big shift that we're waiting for. I think it is going to be No Name. There is always a potential chance it can shift back north, but it is going to keep going further towards No Name. It could continue to pull towards the eastern side as well. We have seen it finish over towards the eastern side, more towards the Vault, but certainly where Complexity, Empire, Weave, they're all holding at the moment, they're in great positions.
We can see as well that Falcons are pushing their way from Geyser through the tunnel. If they can hold that for quite some time, then they'll be in a really good spot. Fluffy Aimers might think about rotating behind them a little bit later, but it looks like they're going to take a slightly different approach. So Yup, who are already in the kind of tunnels complex, I'll call it, now that it's a little bit more difficult to navigate, they're going to maybe have to deal with Falcons at some point, but they're playing outside of it to the north side. So Falcons should have control of this Vault tunnel for quite some time, and they're going to be in a really good spot for this endgame with everybody kind of, by the looks of things, approaching from the north side here of World's Edge.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think anyone's going to come from the south, so that would be good and bad news for Falcons. Good news because they're not going to be contested down in the Vault, but also maybe bad news because then you don't pick up any kills. But it looks like Falcons on their rotation at the moment are trying to find a better place to play on the edge of that Vault tunnel. As for Not Moist, this is the northern side that you were speaking of. SSG aren't so far away from them, and I think that's why Not Moist are hesitant to move right now, because they know there's someone nearby. They've just seen SSG again, but now seeing them retreating means that Not Moist should know they're the only team on the north.
Oh my goodness. Well, ACP do hit another evac and manage to get into this building, but by the skin of their teeth, that could not be closer. Deeds was down to 5 or 6 HP. Everyone else has to pop some batteries and some cells to get healthy again, but they do have the caustic this time. Deeds running the caustic to lock down this building. So a very successful redeploy from the skies for them to find a spot to play.
Yeah, the teams who have the controller legends are going to be pretty happy with this circle if they have been able to get into one of these buildings in no name, or even in fragment, to be fair, on the edges of fragment. You can hold it for quite some time. I think CCE also playing a caustic and holding the edges of the train track. As SSG, they've had to move all the way down this western side, and it's NRG that are now in front of them, and they might have to take this fight.
Yeah, this is going to be a tough rotate here for SSG. Interested to see what the play call is going to be from Phony. But one thing I want to actually say about SSG as they prepare to take this evac is I just love the natural chemistry in play styles that you have with all these three players, right? Phony loves to be aggressive as an IGL, probably about as aggressive a player as you would wish for. Zainu, we know what pedigree he has. He's a LAN champion and also loves to be aggressive. And I think Koifel just gives him that little bit of stability, that clutch factor that's sometimes missing in those 3v3s. You get that final kill. You're a little 1v1. You want Koifel to be that player alive, but for now, they're going to have to get him back on his feet.
They should be able to get up to a full 3 here. They're probably happy to see that these buildings are free, but they already know they're going to have to continue moving because they were able to get the ring console information thanks to Zainu choosing that option on the fuse, and they will continue to move east shortly. But it's a nice temporary pit stop for them to reset and potentially hold out teams that they could have fought on the outskirts of this circle. NRG and both SKD are going to now be arriving after them here.
Going to be an end zone where I think a lot of teams who are coming in from the north and maybe even the west side of World's Edge here are going to be thinking KP is the name of the game for us. Also at LG, they're making a very interesting rotate to follow here, as it looks like they're going to play for maybe this Evo Harvester that is in front of them. Maybe a little bit of extra ring console information, but the situation they find themselves in now... Always craft a bat on your way past.
Medkit, probably.
Medkit, indeed. Smarter than me. Is an interesting decision to go back into the zone and wrap from this way.
Now, that's the difference between you and I. You already have plenty of medkits. I'm scrambling when we get into the circle. I'm like, I'm desperate. I need something. I've not looted enough.
We're going through zone knowing I have 3 medkits.
But it is going to be a long old journey for them. We'll have to see if it pays off for LG. And as they do arrive late, it will be Not Moist that is the closest team to them. Biggest question for me, do Not Moist know that they're there? Because remember, when Not Moist saw SSG a little bit earlier, they probably presumed they're the only team on the north. But we can have a little dive in to see what they are thinking about this game. Let's jump into a listen in.
Yep, can you before we do this, can you scan down below and see if there's a team underneath us?
Yes, I can. Yeah, they're playing out front of tunnel right now. 3 seconds, I'm gonna scan below, okay?
Yep.
Scanning?
Taking things to see what's in.
There's a team under right now.
You need to queue this. You need to queue that. Make sure that they can't come up.
We're in at the rock there, Timmy. We don't have to int right now. We can wait until we wait until this zip is out of zone, and then we look to take the fight, okay?
Yep. Well,
do as much poke to them as you can.
They do have blue. They do have blue.
Yeah. Perfect. It's a fucking Watson team.
This guy also has blue purple down there.
Yeah, I hear you.
Just letting you know.
We hold this zip, and we look to fight this team later. We win this fight, and then we fucking have a very good game here.
Yep, they're just holding their inside, I'm pretty sure. So they have to worry about that. It's also the team that mirrored us.
That's fine. That's fine.
Mirrors. Yep.
Shoot them off as well. We walk in front of us. We're not pressured for space right now.
They have purple. I'm just letting you know.
That's few.
They're probably gonna go low ground towards. They're probably gonna go low ground towards the tunnel. We can walk in here if we have to.
We should try to shoot this. No, we should try to kill them off. Shoot the second. Shoot second.
Hit him 30.
Alright, let's look to walk. Let's look to walk forward.
Hit him 30.
Alright, let's look to walk. Let's look to walk forward.
Right to my dude.
Let's walk up. Good shots.
Fucking up.
Right to my dude.
We could go, Rito, we could go under. We could flame cracks.
Down the building. Kind of free kills.
I think we played this spot.
Can we shoot this here?
See ya. Really cracking me, Jim.
Coming in from Timmy from distance alongside his 2 teammates. They get the knock onto the team that was in that truck. That was E8 quite some time ago, but I'm pretty sure that's a combination of TSM. But no, it's actually, excuse me, it is still E8 who are in and around that truck. Elsewhere, SSG have been eliminated, so one of my teams to keep an eye on today. Well, you don't have to keep an eye on them any longer in this game. Board also eliminated as we lose our first 3 teams.
It was great to get a listen and just to hear Waltzy on the IGL as well. Of course, it used to be empty, but now Waltzy picking up the those reins in. It sounds very comfortable to me. Now elsewhere, SKD, they're on this far western side, and they have 2 teams around them. But are they going to be able to pick up any kills? They've already lost 2, and it's now Noct as the last remaining.
1v1. Not trying to clutch up for SKD here, but I don't think he knows where the other player is. And now he's kind of a little bit split decision. Does he play behind the knockdowns to hit the battery? That is the answer in front of your face right now. It's Presley versus Noct in this 1v1. Is he going to play for the res here and exchange them elsewhere? OXG taking a fight here. It's a 2v2 by the looks of things for them.
Yeah, most hated are on the other side. Now it's just going to be Aiden on his own. And he is in the Bloodhound ult, but I'm not sure it's going to work out for him. Done a lot of damage, but it's not going to be a successful mission for him. He falls to most hated. We go back to this 1v1 that you were speaking of earlier. That's no longer a 1v1. Fluffy Aim is back up to a full 3.
It's a 3v2 now because they managed to get both raises. So SKD may have just made the wrong decision in this situation. And yes, he did. That was the wrong choice. Take the 1v1 next time. You want that one back. But Fluffy Amiels will knock SKD out of this game number 1.
All the meanwhile, the circle is continuing to shift further east, which we did say could happen here. So just outside of this vault tunnel that both Falcons and YUP are holding at the moment is going to be one of the more desirable positions. So this could be a huge fight to win here for Team Falcons.
And they do have an armor advantage. You can already see as a blue armor. Also, Zero is going to jump over those with a little bit of gymnastics himself to make sure the Watson fences will not be a problem for the rest of Falcons. They will be safe where they are right now, but you can see the play. They want to take this spot away. They want to fight for it.
I think they're just hesitant at the moment, just in case there's any other teams in the area, waiting for those scans to get full information before they do anything. The zone is going to force them to make a decision soon, though. If they don't go fast, they might have to back off. All the meanwhile, most hated have just dived on in onto YUP, and suddenly there's going to be several teams in this area, and Falcons, if they bide their time, might be able to just sneak around.
NGNL gone, E8 gone as well. Another team just disappeared. Fluffy Aimers fell out of the lobby as well. This is a really tough rotate to have to make now. The team that's stuck inside of this building, very, very difficult to move through those traps if they want to get some clean shots without taking damage. Empire have gone down as well. Pioneers, they are cleaning up this side of zone for now, and there's a Kraber in the hands of Onmu as well. NRG will go down, and now you're finding Cape as the last player alive. He's got no shields and he's got no life left as well. CCE will be eliminated, and Pioneers putting some good kills on the board. Look at the amount they've got already.
No one is in this next circle, by the way. The only team that's close to it is Not Moist, who have one of the more commanding positions from the north side. You could hear Waltzy knew where this circle was going. He was confident they were going to have a good game if they won that initial fight when we were in the listening. Now, the fight we were talking about earlier, Most Hated versus YUP, they're going to be fighting, and Falcons have to push it. Falcons need to come into this one.
Yeah, they're going, they're sending it. They see the knocks come in, and now Falcons, they have to send it themselves, but the fences are a problem, and Team Falcons will fall. So YUP, somehow or other, from being in a horrible, horrible position sandwiched between two teams, survive long enough to not only send Falcons out the lobby, but maybe fight their way through this last player alive to stay alive in this zone.
Only one player remaining for Most Hated as well, but has the zone on his side. Knockdown shields as well to play with, and you can see that they are scrambling inside there, and they may just fall victim to the red. They do, so now Most Hated will hold the southern side. Not Moist still on this northern side, holding out LG and Complexity. It's going to be 3 teams here. Not Moist, Pioneers, and Most Hated as our final 3.
LG gone, Complexity gone, and now you're seeing Not Moist, a new lineup, starting to take command of the northern side of this zone. They have the most space in this zone, but Pioneers and Onmu do have that Kraber, so keep your eyes on them. They have the opportunity here to play however they want if they can hit the shots, but the caval's going to go down. It looks like Not Moist are forcing them away down the hill.
I love this push from Not Moist. It's an aggressive one that says we're prepared to take this fight, and they almost scare the opposition away, and they hope to scare them into another fight. It's the Pioneers who have lost the first player, though. Most Hated, Not Moist, and Pioneers all scrapping.
Dee's last player alive. Jet is going to go down as well, so Deej is trying to scrap for second place at the moment. Guild trying to clean him up, but the gold knockdown, we've seen it be a problem. Well, it's a problem once again. Timmy's taking his time and will be able to get back to full health, so Not Moist will have to play this one out as a 2, and Most Hated almost as a 2, but they've stuck the res by the looks of things, Not Moist. They might be able to get them back up, but no! It's going to be a straight 2v2 as one gets finished off.
Yeah, Most Hated still down to a 2, but the fact that Not Moist gave themselves the time, they don't know yet, but they might have gained that information that it is a straight 2v2 if they saw it on the death cam whilst he was knocked. And now suddenly the Kraber in the hands of Most Hated. Oh, and the Sentinel for Timmy.
Yeah, I see your Kraber. I got a Sentinel and it's charged up, and I am feeling charged up alongside it. Timmy, the new boy, to this lineup for Not Moist, is taking the game in his hands, and Not Moist will win as Timmy hits a celebratory shot to a teammate as well.
On his debut, what a way to kick off.
On his debut.
Joining Not Moist, the calls from Waltzy, perfect. Go into a listening to see just how they wanted to play that game, and it was almost played exactly down to a T how he wanted to, and it all played out in his head how he foresaw it. Great first game from Not Moist.
I mean, when you're poking with a Kraber, you don't expect that kind of response a lot of the time. You feel like you have the power of the lobby in your hands, hit one shot, and you put your team into a position to win the game. But Timmy with a 132 headshot with that charged up Sentinel, it's why you pick a player like him up, right? He's a game changer. He's a game winner. And Timmy does it here for Not Moist.
He's just an absolute gamer, to be honest. And I think that even though it would have been a hard decision for Timmy to make the move across, just getting that victory under your belt, everything feels a little bit more justified. It takes a lot of pressure off your shoulders as well. So now Not Moist can probably relax a little bit as they go into this next game.
Yeah, phenomenal game from them. And I will say, Waltz's Odds yelling absolutely on point. Every single thing that in that listening he was saying was going to happen is exactly what happened. But I got to give a lot of credit again to Timmy playing with that Sentinel, creating so much space, not allowing teams to move up into the space that Not Moist were looking to play a little bit later on in that game. Fantastic performance all round from Not Moist. And with 11 kills alongside it, 23-point banger to start the day off here in North America. Not Moist making me feel things, Dan.
Tingly feelings everywhere from Not Moist. Well, Most Hated. I'm impressed with their performance as well, because not only did we see them win that initial fight in the choke, but then they soared all the way over to the eastern side, where they then kind of blocked out those teams that were holding in the Vault Tunnel. Yup, and Falcons, who had been sizing each other up pretty much all game. Neither of them succeed in getting out of the tunnel because Most Hated were able to hold them out at the northern side.
Yeah, really, really impressive from them. And Team Falcons, you can see it was kind of all in on that play. The longer that fight took to take place, so to speak, the less likely it was that Falcons were going to be able to get into that fight healthy enough to really cause a problem. At the other end of the table, SSG, no points on the board in game number 1. A little bit of a disappointing one for them, although a tough zone to access, of course. SKD, we saw them in a momentary 1v1 that turned into a 3v2 very quickly as both teams tried to exchange reses, and it was the other side of things, the fluffy aimers who managed to get the 3 players up first. And looking at the damage stats here across the board, you can see the Not Moist putting up a huge amount with 4K on their side.
Yeah, I'm not surprised with the amount of space that they were able to take up right from the start of the game. And it was a lot done by Timmy as well. You can see 1,800 with the sniper being able to just annoy people from a distance, regardless of whether they were going to take that fight or they were just trying to poke and prod at everyone. It is a extremely impressive first place finish for Not Moist. But I think both Most Hated and Pioneers will be happy with second and third. Just want to touch upon SSG as well. The fact that we did see them take Sky East. This is one of the big differences, again, between North America and EMEA. A lot of teams are leaving Sky East in EMEA, saying that, you know, Sky West already pretty powerful. We don't really want to be competing with a team that's coming from there. And technically, you're then sharing a POI. So it's strange that in NA, people are still favoring it. People are still confident in Sky East, and SSG couldn't get it done in that first one.
Yeah, a little bit of a rough one for SSG, but Not Moist looking very, very strong at the end of game 1. It's time for us to go to a quick break. When we get back, though, match number 2 is coming your way.
Alienware is the official PC and monitor partner of the Apex Legends Global Series.
into the Apex Legends Global Series, as we have just completed our first match of the day here for NA, and now we're going to be looking towards match number 2. But before we do that, Dan, I think we gotta take a look back at some of those final moments from the first match, because what Timmy was doing to people with that Sentinel in hand was just unfair.
It was borderline bullying at one point, to be fair, what Timmy was doing throughout the entire game. Now, Not Moist, when they went down to a 2 here, it was looking pretty dicey, and they probably thought our chances of winning there's got to be teams of 3. But luckily for them, it was going to be a 2 that they go up against. Now, what Gil did, yes, he went down, but he allowed the res to happen and gave the information that there was only a 2. So it allowed then Moist to just take that second, reset a little bit, reposition, and get into a spot where they could take down. Also, the damage that Timmy did through smoke then, also a little bit ridiculous, has to be said.
Not only that, but Guild was also, I think he had 6 kills in that match. So, I mean, everybody was really pulling their weight in that first match. And, you know, we were kind of wondering what was going to happen. Obviously, that was a new roster change. We were excited to see what Timmy and Not Moist were going to do together as a trio. Like you guys said, I think that it was really cool too. Got to hear kind of how they work together on comms and the thought processes behind how they want to play their game out. And right now, after that first match, they looked great. They did. And I mentioned it right at the end of the game. I just do think it takes the pressure off now, and we'll see whether they can continue this momentum going into match number 2. But there was a few teams who maybe had an opportunity to do a little bit more. I think both Falcons and Yup will be a bit aggrieved with what happened. The fact they were kind of gate-kept in a position that they've been working so hard to get. But sadly, that is the case. If a fight takes too long, if you don't get into the equation of said fight quick enough, you are going to be punished a little bit later. So maybe that will speed up some of these fights for some of these teams. Yeah, I mean, and another one of those teams that ended up being in the top 3 with them that had a lot of kills as well was also Pioneers. They didn't end up getting that win. They got that 3rd place finish, but 11 kills to their name after a pretty aggressive match number 1. So they're setting themselves up well for the day as we continue into our next match. Obviously, Not Moist winning the first one, heading back to World's Edge now for match number 2. Have to see where this next zone will go, who it could potentially favor, and what that means for some of our squads. But so far, we're starting off with a pretty strong showing from some of these teams. It's interesting as well, in the POI draft, 7 of the first 8 picks were all on World's Edge. So I think that says a lot for people about kind of where people believe they're going to be getting their points as a squad, and for the fact that it is match 1, 2, and 3. Now, in EMEA, we saw some teams prioritizing Storm points, saying we would rather catch up to squads knowing what we have to do rather than being the front runners. It's almost like a marathon race, right? Do you want to be at the front of the pack where you are leading the pace, or do you want to be just holding off a little further behind, save that energy, and then suddenly get that final sprint? Certainly those teams who have prioritized Storm Point are going to have to try and find something similar to that here in these games. Yeah, that was something that we even had talked about during our EMEA matches as well. It's all about finding that balancing act, knowing that if your first, second, or even third choice POIs aren't going to be available to you on one map, how do you balance that out, make it work for you on the other? So far, it's been really fun kind of seeing how everyone is handling these POI draft picks. But of course, we also have our Challenger Circuit number 2 right around the corner, the 22nd to the 24th. And there's still time to register if you want to try and get yourself to compete in there, potentially see yourself up here on the main stage of ALGS. So if you are even remotely interested, get yourself signed up and check out that next Challenger Circuit. As I can hear the drop ships locked and loaded, our players are getting ready to dive into match number 2. And it is going to be the Dome where we're currently going over. That's where Falcons selected as their POI. They had 27th pick, so they opted for going for the Dome rather than Mirage à Trois, Staging, Geyser, or Big Maud, which has been prioritized in other regions a little bit more. So clearly Falcons feel like something can be done from Dome, and we'll have to see whether they can pick up points. Match 1 wasn't certainly the match they expected, but they can certainly change their fortunes going into match 2 here. We'll be kicking things off with Team Falcons as well. As they start to get themselves looted up, they'll be looking for that information and hopefully finding a bit of a more successful rotation into that first circle. Preparing themselves for who they potentially have to run into as well. And as we start to get that map information, seeing where some of our teams are going to end up, it looks like it's going to be shifting a little bit towards Monument.
Yeah, Monument is where we're going to be heading. And it could be the circle that does finish pretty much bang center of Monument as well. We saw it in APAC North actually quite recently, where it looked like it might shift a little bit to the west, but then suddenly it pulls back into Monument, so everyone got rewarded who had committed to Monument early. Again, the teams who are center at the moment, Monument, NG and L, have a ring console, so if they stay put, they're going to be pretty confident that it is going to be a Monument position as well. Weave moving from Overlook are going to have one of the priority movements if they go quick about their business, especially if they hit that survey beacon and realize that they have a perfectly quick transition from Fragment all the way to Monument right now.
Yeah, you can also see Elevate with a little bit of a 2-1 split right now, kind of scoping things out from Epi, which was left open when it comes to those drops. So Elevate could be looking to make a move in early and claim some space for themselves as well. Right now, you know, we're just watching everybody make their initial choices. You see Pioneers there also coming through the choke, potentially running into LG as everyone's working on that western side of where the circle's going to start moving. And then we also are back on board Team Falcons, who now have blue shields, looking a little bit more comfortably looted up as they start to move forward.
Interestingly, looking at this circle, it was APAC North day one. Also, thank you, Dia, for putting all these together. You absolute legend. Riddle Order won this circle from Overlook, so that is fantastic news for Weave, who have dropped there. But second place in this game was... Oh, sorry, third place was Fnatic all the way from Dome. So perhaps we'll watch quite keenly on how Falcons do on their rotation here and whether they go for something a little bit similar. It looks like Fnatic moved far east when they went for the rotation, whereas we are going to be seeing Falcons actually opting to go through Launch Site and then through Lava Siphon. So two very different approaches to this circle and just shows the differences of the regions we have here in Apex.
You know, I saw a little bit of back and forth there. Like I mentioned, we had Pioneers coming through that vault tunnel, and they did run into LG. A little bit of back and forth poke damage, but both teams opting to back off and make their way through the choke safely. Now checking in with Complexity and what they've got going on over here, finding themselves in a little bit of a back and forth as well. Everybody playing this really smart so far, though. Just getting enough damage to continue working on those Evos without really forcing anything too early.
Yeah, no one really wants to take said early fight, but it's also because everyone's more focused on getting the Evo Harvesters, as you mentioned. So eventually, if you do keep going along the path, you are going to just hit someone who's trying to get the same Evo Harvester as you. Complexity are going to force their way through this choke, and they might just miss Eternal, who forced their way through here a little bit earlier on. But Monument is already pretty full. Not much room to play. You've got TSM who are going to be playing the train tracks just to the west of Monument, and they're going to hold that position for a short while. Oxygen are going to be here in Landslide. They're going to be gate kept by TSM. It does become a bit of a back and forth when you look at some of these teams of, yes, you might be able to get past one team in your rotation, but then there's just going to be another squad waiting for you after you've got past the initial.
Yeah, there's only so many different chokes that they can try to push through when they're coming from this western edge. There's going to be quite a few teams that are looking for some sort of space to move through on their later rotations as well. We're still waiting to see where Board goes, how SKD do, but Complexity have made their way through safely so far. They ended up going a little bit farther west so that they didn't end up running into Eternal, but still have so many of the other teams to be keeping their eyes on with that western wrap. TSM right on the edge of this tunnel, trying to see if they can maybe catch somebody out on a rotation as well, and just gonna kind of hold here in the opening for now.
And there's a lot of eyes on TSM, as there always is, because it's TSM. But after an incredible performance last week, when we had no Falcons, we had no SSG, TSM were able to take the plaudits. But can they do it when the other big teams are involved here and maybe answer some of those questions and doubts that other fans are putting upon TSM? It was great to have an interview with Verholst after last week as well, and just see that that confidence is and the belief in his game and his teammates. TSM, they're going to be set, they're going to be put, they're going to be holding down the train track. Oxygen moved to countdown just to get bring into position, but it's NRG who are on the other side of it, and they might just caught Oxygen with their pants down a little bit here.
Yeah, NRG, you guys mentioned it at the beginning, obviously. Sky West and OG running straight into their path right now. Backing off, not really wanting to take this fight. this early on and potentially wrapping right back into SKD. So this might be a little bit of a sandwich situation that try to capitalize on. As you can see them trying to do a little bit of across the way. And you can see that SKD was taking a little bit of it. They know that OHG is in the area. So now Landslide becoming a little bit of a hustle.
This goes back to the marathon metaphor I was using earlier. Going to get that ring console, they kind of drop to the back of the pack and they allow someone else to get in front of them here, and that is SKD. So now Oxygen need to try and find a way around them, right? So they're going to have to go down south, I think. Staging is going to be their approach. But then that means you have to force yourself through a choke point to get into the circle. So it's going to be a tough old move for Oxygen. Either they double back on themselves and take the fight against SKD, or they have to go all the way around the harvester and get themselves through that choke point Border currently holding. Now, look at where that circle is sending us. It is going to be a little bit further west than I thought, still with heavy monument presence, but there is a lot of mountain that's taken up by that circle, which of course means lack of playable space, which will mean a lot of fights that are going to happen before we get to zone 3.
There might be a really good opportunity for the last remaining teams that are here on the west side to hold that west side, clear out the likes of NRG, maybe OXG continues this wrap around and goes through Harvester. SKG do have an opportunity here to be one of the teams that have to deal with the monument chaos as everyone leaves those buildings, and it might end up working out for them.
I think everyone hopes that the zone is going to be in their favor. The downside for all of these monument teams is they won't have any clue where the circle is going to be going, because there's no ring console for them to work with. When there's so many teams surrounding you, you don't have the opportunity to step out and actually gain said information. So this is where these kind of zones and these kind of shifts can benefit the late movers, because you get that information before the other teams do. My question would be, Board and TSM already take some of the more position on the southern side, and you can't play close to the mountain. It's going to be about forcing yourselves into engagements. It has to turn into gaining KP for a lot of these teams.
There's lots of back and forth happening with SKD and NRG in the area. SKD able to scare off from trying to make their push through on this NRG, opting to wrap all the way back around through Skyhook, hopefully quickly enough that they'll be able to come out through one of the other areas and not be punished too harshly for it. But SKD actually did a really good job owning this space and now giving themselves a little bit of time to work with the next ring. So they've really opened up the doors for themselves.
When they decide to go through the vault tunnel, they will be able to hold their position and technically get ahead of SKD, but still they're going to have to maybe fight them from a more favorable position. Now, we spoke about Falcons earlier and their move all the way from Dome. They do find themselves on the southeast side of this circle now, but they have to cross the lava to get to this next circle, and they're going to be focused by potentially Oxygen Esports, who are just waiting around this corner.
And we watched Oxygen on the map that go for the Templar Harvester. Team Falcons now running straight into them, but don't have too many teams at their backs. They might be able to have a little bit of back and forth with OXG, but like you said, you've got Board in the area, TSM still in that tunnel. There are some teams that are going to be looking to see if they can maybe do a little bit of damage from distance. Team Falcons trying to kind of keep around all the rocks and see the next one they need to be worrying about at their backs, as no one's really made any sort of an aggressive move here just yet, kind of waiting for the next ring to get some position.
Now, I don't know if it's a sign of strength or discipline of this region, but comparatively to EMEA today, the fact we still have 20 teams left in this lobby, very different to what we saw earlier on this morning with EMEA competing against one another, and a few teams just kind of jumping into those engagements, trying to win those early fights, trying to force those positions, but a lot more passive play at the moment from North America, but arguably smarter play in certain scenarios as well. Now, NRG did lose one of their players on their position on the northern side, so it might have seemed like a great idea, but they've been punished for it. Now, zone-wise, yeah, still looking pretty bad for those teams who are on the far east, right? Building after building after building, and then just ultimate open space is where it's going to end. And I said that we're going to see a lot of teams die here in Zone 3. Then when we get to Zone 4, it's just going to continue whittling them down, and I wouldn't be surprised if we end up in like a 3v3 scenario in the final circle.
Yeah, TSM